Hello and welcome to another video on factoring. However, today we're going to be doing mixed factoring. Now I've done 4 videos on factoring and they were individual videos. But how do you know which method to use with which polynomial? That's what this video is for. Let's begin. My first problem, I have 2a squared b to the 6th plus 8ab to the 4th plus 2a to the 3rd b to the 3rd. Now, when I look at my problem, I know that it's multivariable. I have a's and b's together in every term. This is my clue that this would be a Gcf factor. So I'm going to go about trying to find my Gcf. For my coefficients, I have 2 and 8. The greatest number would be 2. Now, I notice that a is common to all 3 terms, and remember to find the Gcf for the variable, you choose the one with the smallest, so I'm going to take that a, and the b is common to all 3, but this is a 6, this is a 4, and this is a 3rd, so remember we take the one with the smallest, so I'm going to take that. So my Gcf is 2a b to the 3rd, and I'm writing this under every term because I do not want to make any errors when I actually begin my division. So my Gcf is 2a b to the 3rd. To get what's inside the parentheses, I'm going to begin to divide. The 2's cancel. A squared divided by a is a. B to the 6th divided by b to the 3rd is b to the 3rd. Plus 8 divided by 2 is 4. The a's cancel. B to the 4 divided by b to the 3rd is b. Plus the 2's cancel. The b to the 3rds cancel. And a to the 3rd divided by a is a to the 2nd. Remember what I said, check your parentheses. Your coefficients here, the only number that should be able to divide them is 1. And that is clearly what's happened here. So I'm finished. This is my answer. Our second problem, I have xy plus 8x plus 3y plus 24. Whenever you have 4 terms, you're going to use factoring by grouping. That's your clue. 4 terms, you're going to use grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2, and I'm going to group the second 2. And now I'm going to do a Gcf factor. So for my first grouping, I see they both have x in common. So their Gcf is going to be x. So there's my x. Inside, I'm going to divide. This cancels, y. This cancels, plus 8. Moving on to my next grouping, I see my coefficients are 3 and 24. The greatest number to divide those are 3. Remember, you must have an operator separating. So because my leading coefficient was a positive, that's going to be a plus 3. I'm going to divide y plus 8. Remember what I told you. These groupings, or whatever you have in the parentheses, must be identical. So I'm going to take one. So I'm going to take y plus 8, just one of them because they're identical. And then whatever is in front, I'm going to put them in a separate parentheses. So this will be x plus 3. And you're finished. And that's your answer. So again, if you have a multivariable, Gcf. If you have 4 terms, grouping. Okay, I have 3x to the 4th minus 18x to the 3rd plus 27x squared. Whenever you have to factor, the first thing you should always try is Gcf. So I look here and I notice that all of these I can divide by 3. And I notice that x is common to all 3, but remember we take the smallest, so your Gcf is 3x squared. So I'm going to have 3x squared. I'm going to go ahead and divide. The 3's cancel. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared minus 18 divided by 3 is 6, and x to the 3rd divided by x squared is x, plus 27 divided by 3 is 9. And the x squares cancel. Now inside of the parentheses is a basic trinomial, and you should try to see if you can factor this. So you know from class I like to factor with this x. So I have 9 here, which is a positive, and the sum is negative 6. So this is my product and this is my sum. My product is positive, but my sum is negative. The only way that can occur is if you're multiplying two negatives. Two negatives multiply to give you a positive, and when you add two negatives, you get a negative. So I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply them, I get 9, and when I add, I get 6. And that happens with 3 times 3. And then I can put my x in, x and x. So this becomes 3x squared, and then I have x minus 3 and x minus 3. Another way you can write this is 3x squared and x minus 3 raised to the second power. So both of these are correct. So on the test, if you wrote this as an answer, it is fine. If you write this as an answer, that is also okay. I have 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. Remember what I said? Always check for GCF. You never know. 6, 11, and 4, the only number that can divide those is 1. So no GCF. However, I know I have 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. And if I have 3 terms, it means I have a trinomial. But I notice that the leading coefficient is 6, which is greater than 1. So that's my clue. We're going to slide and divide. So the 6 is going to slide on over and combine with the 4 using multiplication. So I get x squared minus 11x plus 24. And now this is easy to factor because now it becomes a basic. So the thing with slide and divide, it makes a basic polynomial. So this is 24 and here's negative 11. Again, when this is positive, when your product is positive and your sum is negative, your signs will be two negatives. Now, remember, we took the 6 and multiplied the 4, and so I don't forget, Since I don't want to forget, I have to remember that I have to divide my factors by 6. So I'm going to put it in so I don't forget. Now I'm going to get my factors. I'm looking for two numbers that when they multiply, I get 24, and when I add, I get 11. Please check your factors. I see this a lot on tests, especially when they use 24 or 36. So 24, students will say, oh, 6 times 4 is 24. But wait, when you add them, you get in 10. No good. Another set of factors that would give you 24 is 8 times 3. And when you add them, oh yeah, that one gives you 11. So you're using 8 and 3. Now because they're both negatives, doesn't matter where you put the 8 or where you put the 3. So I'm going to put in my x. So I have x minus 3 over 6. And I have x minus 8 over 6. Now I know 6 can't divide 3 evenly. 6 can't divide 8 evenly. So I have fractions. Remember, when you have fractions, look to see if you can reduce. And this first one, I can divide both of these by 3. The 8 and the 6, I can divide both by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and divide them to reduce my fractions. So I have x minus 1 over 2. And this is x minus 4 over 3. Please don't give me this as your answer on the test. I would hate for you to come all this way and get it incorrect. Remember that 2 goes here. Someone did this one semester, and I just felt like crying. It was like the departmental final. I felt like crying. And then the 3 goes here, and that becomes 3x minus 4. Your answer cannot have fractions in them, so please remember that. And this is your answer. 2x minus 1 and 3x minus 4. Again, I have 2x to the 5th minus 8x to the 3rd. Can I do GCF factoring? Yep. So 2 and 8, both can be divided by 2. X is common to both of them. So I'm going to take the smallest, x to the 3rd. So my GCF is 2x to the 3rd When I divide to get what's in the middle, the 2's cancel. X to the 5 divided by x to the third is x to the second. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and the x's cancel. Remember, once you do GCF, you have to check what's in the parentheses. So I notice I have 2 terms. The x squared is perfect, the 4 is perfect, they're separated by subtraction. That is when we can use dots. So you have 2x to the third. I'm going to open 2 parentheses. X squared is x times x. You have a negative. The only way you're going to get a negative, a positive times a negative. What number multiplies itself to give you 4? 2 times 2. And you're finished. So I'm going to give you a little chart to help you out when you're factoring. Whenever you're factoring, the first type of factoring you should try is GCF factoring. Don't matter what you're doing, always try GCF factoring first. Okay? If it works or it doesn't work, you're going to look at how many terms you have. So I'm going to write here how many terms. The number of terms will give you an idea of what type of factoring you're going to use. So if you have 2 terms, most likely you're going to use dots, difference of 2 squares. But remember, with dots, you have to have perfect ends and they have to be separated by subtraction. So you have to have something like this, x squared minus 9. Separated by subtraction and both of the ends are perfect. Then you use dots. If you have 3 terms, you know you have trinomials. And if you have a trinomial, that's going to lead you down 2 paths. You have the basic trinomial. That's when your a is equal to 1. And then you have what I'm going to call slide and divide. Slide and divide. That's when your a is greater than 1. The basic one's easy. Slide and divide, you know what you have to do. And if you have 4 terms, that's when you're going to use grouping. And this little chart helps you. I hope this was helpful. Good luck on your tests.